Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another installment of the Rob and Ruchi Show. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Rob. Hi.
Hi, and we are here this week to talk about a really interesting topic, digital disruption. So we're going to start, as we always do, by kind of defining what this term is and what it means. So Rob, what is digital disruption in the business landscape today?
So I think what's fascinating about your question is that digital disruption means something different to just about everybody you talk to. On the one hand, you'll talk to people, for example, in the retail world, where they'll think that digital disruption is ordering stuff online. You'll talk to people in the healthcare world, and they'll think that, oh my God, the disruption is healthcare delivered via a virtual doctor or something like that. I think what's interesting in our world of talent development, digital disruption means how are we evolving the learning process and using technology as a way to either enhance and in some cases replace traditional legacy learning tools and environments.
So is it always emerging technologies that are disrupting the landscape, or is it using current technology in different ways?
So if you think about the difference between invention and innovation, that will help get you to that answer. An invention is a product or process or service invented for the first time. So for example, the automobile, when it was first created, was an invention. Over time, the automobile has been refined, it has been expanded, and it has been innovated on. So I think in the business environment, there are certainly inventions that are happening using the digital disruption. I think artificial intelligence and AI is an invention, but what's going to be interesting is how is that going to turn into an innovation?
Right. So how are people using this invention in new and innovative ways?
Correct.
Great. So if you think about some of our customers and our clients, we run the gamut of a lot of industries, right? We have pharma, retail. How does digital disruption affect these industries in the same way, and how does it affect them in different ways?
So I think, let me answer your question in terms of the impact it has on their business. So you mentioned healthcare, you mentioned retail, we work in the high-tech space, and I think what we are seeing is that the digital disruption has two very different ways of impacting their business. One is how they're getting closer to their customers. So for example, just understanding who their customers are, because there's so much more data. How are they segmenting? How are they defining the value proposition and matching it up to the right customer? And then I think on the back end, you see the disruption happening in the way that they are running their business. So part of my answer is the way they're delivering value to their customer, and then part of it is how are they using the digital disruption to run their business better. Two very different ways of doing it.
Yep, so it sounds like one commonality across industry, across client, is that they're all using what's in front of them in very different ways. They might be using technologies to mine the data in different ways. They're just really trying to get more information to be able to hone in on who their customer is and what their customer wants.
In the best cases.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I think what happens is you'll find people thinking, oh yeah, it's cool, the newest, hottest buzzword is digital disruption, and tools and do things and say, look at us, we're using technology in a different way. My thing, and this comes from the experience of working every single day out there with our clients in all of these different industries, is the ones who seem that they're really most successful are the ones who are leveraging the technology to deliver their value to their customers in a more efficient way. And I think it's hard to get your arms around what that means. especially in organizations that are siloed. Those organizations that can work together more in a collaborative environment, that break down the silos, can understand how that digital disruption can actually be used together in a way to get closer to the customer.
Interesting. So, I mean, it sounds like our customers and what we provide for customers are a perfect case study for that, right? We're really thinking about how talent development needs are changing and how do we get technology to meet the need of a globally dispersed workforce.
So I smile because something happened a couple weeks ago. I was conducting a presentation for a potential new client, and we were going through our simulations, we were going through our SimBots, we were going through our praction exercises, all of the tools that you and I use every single day, and I've personally been using for almost 30 years. And the client looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, Rob, you're using simulations as the digital disruption." And I stopped for a moment, of course, said, "Yeah, of course we are." And then I realized that we've been doing that for a really long time. And now perhaps it's just catching up with people that you can enhance the learning process.
Absolutely. So it's not just a different modality of learning, but it's a disruptive modality of learning. It's changing behavior. It's changing how people actually learn. It's changing the space itself.
And again, I smile because you and I both know, because we have a wonderful client that we're working with, who we're pushing out the content on a daily basis to a mobile device in chunks of 10 to 15 minutes per day. And we're delivering content, we're delivering exercises, we're delivering simulations and what-if analysis. And it's truly the most disruptive thing we've ever worked on. And so I think that's a great example of it.
What makes something disruptive versus just a new idea? Something that's like, oh, this is a cool new LMS or a really snazzy new interface, or even simulations are the new toy. How is it disruptive?
So I think the answer to that question is that it changes behaviors. So, for example, Uber, which everybody will make reference to as one of the most disruptive innovations ever, really is an accumulation of things that already existed. But the brilliance of Uber is that they put it together in a way where the mapping technology, the phone technology, the understanding where people are technology, all those things came together in a different sort of application. Especially in the realm of asking the question from the lens of learning and development, is that if it is changing behavior, if people are learning in a different way because they're not leaving the job and going to a 5-day seminar, if they're not sitting in a classroom listening to somebody talk at them, if they're not reading a book, if they're not going through a boring, crappy e-learning module, if they're engaged in learning by doing and then their behaviors change at the end of it, to me that's disruption.
Interesting. I think about something like Yelp, which has disrupted how we, go to restaurants or choose a hotel. And when I try and relate that back to L&D, I think about how participants or prospective leaders are choosing how they learn or asking for learning in different ways. I want something that's more engaging. It's going to be quick, integrated in my daily workspace.
But I think in addition to that, there's also now an awareness that you can learn in different ways. And I think traditionally people looked at talent development as a one-size-fits-all modality. And now just the fact that somebody has an option of going to a library of e-learning content or participating in an online simulation with embedded content, I think just that in and of itself gives people a much different, fresher perspective on learning.
Absolutely. Well, I also think about breaking up the term into two sections, digital and disruption. Digital is hard enough for some clients to get on board with, right? Because your culture might not support that or your tools and resources might not support that. Then you get to the disruptive bit. Well, when we think about organizations who might be a little bit slower or newer on the path of digital learning, how can we advise, or what kind of advice can we give them about being disruptive in this space?
So in about 6 minutes, as soon as we're done, I'm headed to the airport to work with one of our clients, one of the largest companies on the planet, who traditionally, in their business model, have been very slow to react to going digital in terms of their products and services and ways that they're delivering value to their customers. And believe it or not, they've also been very slow to react to the way that they use digital in learning. And so I will give them all the credit in the world. They've recognized it. And so part of what I'm doing for the rest of the week is to help them by taking case studies that they traditionally would have done in a classroom environment with paper and bringing them to life and enabling them to walk a mile in the shoes of their customers, understanding the enterprise of the customer business so that they could really understand the business side of things and then add value to what they do, because now they've walked a mile in the shoes of the customer. They're able to have a different sort of business dialogue as opposed to just a product dialogue.
So it sounds like the disruptive bit there is the fact that you've digitized this experience in a lot of ways. Instead of looking at a piece of paper and scanning the words and then kind of maybe having a conversation, they're immersing themselves into an experience and forced to take a different perspective.
Totally. And I would challenge the word forced. I think we're presenting them the opportunity to learn in a completely different way, to create empathy with their customer strategy. What are the customer's goals? Because in business, it's too easy to fall in the trap. Hey, here's my product, here's my service, go buy it. Well, Mr. Customer, I understand your business now. I understand what you're trying to do in terms of growing your market, in terms of growing that particular product line. I get that, and now here's the way that I'm going to help you.
Interesting.
That's a disruption.
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
A complete disruption in terms of the way that things have been done.
They're changing the behavior and they're changing their mindset.
And the customers actually really appreciate it. We've run a couple of pilots, and anecdotally, we're already hearing tremendous feedback that the customers are saying, who are you? You know, we didn't expect that. We expected you to hit me over the head with your new product, and now you're talking about how this new product can bring more people into stores, how this could drive top-line revenue. It's pretty interesting.
That's great. Well, as we wind to an end, are there any last pieces of advice you want to give prospective viewers on digital disruption?
Yeah, I think that the thing that I would share is don't be scared of it. You know, digital disruption sounds so overwhelming. It's here, it's been here, and I think people need to embrace it, to explore it, and to play with it. That's the fun part of digital. You can touch it and you can feel it and you can see it. And there's lots of different demos and examples. And if you do that, you won't be as intimidated. And I think embracing it, don't be scared of it, is really the key message.
Explore digital disruption with us. Please feel free to leave a comment or find out more below. Thank you.